Today I'm with Erin Lund for the second time. I've interviewed her before, and I already knew Erin was a lovely book coach, and I already knew that book coaching was important. But after talking to Erin the first time, I felt re-inspired and just remembered how important it is to get support on writing our books. And Erin, she really is so lovely between her background and what she does for people. And I'll let Erin talk a little bit in a minute. I just wanted to introduce Erin as someone you really want to get to know. So if you are stuck writing, if you're still stuck in the writing process, then please stick around because this is going to be awesome. So hi, Erin. Thank you so much for joining me.
Hi, Jess. Thank you for such a lovely and warm introduction. I appreciate that.
Yeah, and how did we meet again? Just totally serendipitously on the
It was
internet.
serendipitously how it all came together. I was looking for fellow writers actually in a Facebook group that's called Nonfiction Authors. And I saw you listed and what you do. And I went, oh, she sounds really cool. I want to be her friend. So I sent you a friend request and I said, you sound really cool. I want to be your friend. And you responded right away and said, oh, that's great. Yeah, let's be friends. What do you do? So I started sharing and I said, what do you do? And you started sharing. And then you said, hey, by the way, I suddenly have a slot open in this course I'm giving tonight that's free.
Nice.
You want to join? And I said, wow, that'd be great. So I did a couple of your online courses with you and we got to chat and I got to find out about your collaborations and you invited me here and I invited you to my Facebook group and you invited me to your Facebook group and it all happened like in the space of a half an hour that became like instant besties.
I love when that happens.
It was
You never
magic.
know on the internet. Sometimes you get spammed or you're just not in the right headspace when someone reaches out and it's like, hey, and it really worked out.
It really did. The stars aligned.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about staying inspired and finishing our manuscripts and how we can do that. And I think you're the perfect person to talk to about this tonight. I have friends who've been at this for years, writing their manuscript and, switching from one manuscript to another and never finishing. And why is this so hard? Why is this the hardest part?
I think it comes down to how well the planning stage went. I was a longtime gardener for many years when I had a house. And I have learned that the old adage, how you prepare the soil, really does dictate how well the plants grow. And the same is true with writing a book, especially if you're writing a nonfiction book, a creative nonfiction book, an inspirational or self-help book. These kinds of books are sending a message. And so with that message, you need to be able to lay out clearly for the reader, here's what I want you to understand, dear reader. Here's the process I'm going to take you through to help you more deeply understand this, my reader. And here's how I'm going to unpack it for you. And so since you are presenting this organized process for your reader, you have to know what that is first for yourself as a writer. So when there's trouble with progressing and finishing and completing a manuscript, it usually means it's a good time to go all the way back to the beginning and review, was sufficient planning done beforehand to lay a solid foundation, to know what those foundational pieces are to put firmly in place, and then to build a scaffold on top of them so that you'll know exactly where you're going to go with every page you're writing. And then you're never going to get stuck. And you're already going to have some experience with how much time does it take me to get through this particular piece? Let me see how many pieces I have left. Now I know how much time it's going to take me to finish. Once you have the scaffolding in place on top of a firm foundation and a roadmap for completion, you'll finish your book.
I love the analogies. And I just replanted my pothos today. So hopefully the soil is good.
Excellent.
So what about when it comes to actually having the logistics down? How much research do we need to do to understand the structure of a book? Is it research that we need? Is it intuition that we need when it comes to plotting? Where do we start?
The thing to start with that is the key ingredient, is the transformation that your book is offering. What is the state of the reader at the beginning of the book? What does the reader go through the process of your book? And what is going to be the state of the reader at the end of your book? That then provides your basic structure. You can build on this. You can break each section down into various parts. The idea is that you're carrying the reader from one piece to the next all the way through. And that provides a basic structure from beginning to middle to end.
Okay, personal question. You're a poet, and I'm curious why you're drawn to nonfiction authors. Your main focus is helping nonfiction authors, coaches, and consultants write their books. So why them?
Poetry is a form of creative nonfiction, and their books are also a form of creative nonfiction. So I think this is what they have in common, is that they have a deeply important message they want to convey. I relate with that as a poet.
I love that. And what do you do as a book coach?
As a book coach, my specialty is helping the writer to set a solid foundation for their book and then to create a clear scaffold for the book. So this is the planning stage I talked about, that everything I see as a book coach and as an editor, a developmental editor, that if we just go all the way back to the beginning of this process, we can sort of fix the bugs in any of the programs that cause problems. So this is the preparing the soil stage. So I help the writer understand foundationally what their key message is, who their key reader is who needs this message, what the market requirements are so that they can write to the market, and also what their transformation is that they're offering to their reader. This is what the hook is. This is what draws the reader in. The reader sees this writer understands that I have a problem and I don't know what to do about it and it's causing me suffering. But here someone can see how I feel and what I need and is offering me a way to work toward a solution.
And you do, I feel like you go above and beyond, and you're reading their work, you're following them through
Absolutely.
the whole process.
The process is that we set this foundation and then we build the scaffold, and the scaffolding process is writing a book proposal. This is what's done for writers who want to seek traditional publishing deals. There are lots of writers today who want to self-publish or use a hybrid publisher. They aren't seeking a publishing deal. However, writing a book proposal is what provides this clear scaffolding because of the pieces that are required in it that I help the writer go through in terms of laying out what the structure is going to be from that beginning to middle to end in that transformation, how to break it down into key chapters, how to title those chapters so that they capture and call to the reader, how they delineate the steps along that transformational process, how to talk about your book in a confident and clear way so that you're building marketing materials as you go, when you can talk about your book and you can talk about yourself as a writer and you can talk about your business and how you want to help people. Now you have marketing materials that you can begin putting out into the world while you're writing your book to build your author platform so that you will have an audience eager and waiting to buy this book when it's out. I also help you go through writing the first couple of chapters of your book. That's also standard in a book proposal. And in this way, I can give you my feedback on those as a developmental editor, which then helps you know how you can go about best writing the rest of your chapters. And once you find out how long it takes you to write a chapter, then we can just multiply that by how many chapters you've now outlined for your book and give you a roadmap so you know when you're going to be able to finish that book. You're not going to be left hanging. You're not going to get stuck in the middle wondering, what do I write next? The whole thing is right in front of you of how it's set up, where am I going to go, how I proceed each time I sit down to write, and when I can anticipate being finished. And I can already start bringing this great idea to the world through my marketing because all of your pieces are already in place.
Erin, this is why I'm such a fan. You do so much, and you just have this lovely, fairy, modest air about you, but are highly competent, and like your transformation that you help authors make is not just like finish the manuscript. And it's like, make sure it's it's good. Have support throughout the process. Have another set of eyes. I know you're a good editor too. And then the book proposal and the marketing aspect, it just seems like perfect. If I was working on a nonfiction book, like I want to be working on a nonfiction book because I think that you're a fantastic coach. And I just love, yeah, your presence is very warm and it makes me feel inspired to write.
That's the best. If
Yeah.
I can help people feel inspired, especially as a poet, that speaks to me as a poet too. I've had other writers or just listeners when I perform tell me that they feel inspired, and that lifts me more than anything. So to know that that means I'm lifting others. This is what we
Yeah.
get to do with each other, this energy exchange. This is my favorite part.
Oh, okay. Another personal question.
Oh,
How do you get your bangs so perfect?
Ah,
Every time I
thank
see
you
you,
for
they're
saying
like
you're
the
perfect.
same perfect full bangs that I want and cannot do.
I have too much hair and I fight with it regularly. So
Okay.
I'm quite flattered that you think my bangs are perfect.
Okay.
I
do.
don't know. I just fiddle with them a lot, hair drying just right somehow,
Okay.
putting hairspray in strategic spots.
Okay. All right.
I'm not
all right.
actually a hair person. I don't know how to talk about hair.
All right. We'll get back to what you can talk about.
Oh,
So
good.
I know that a lot of authors struggle with, writing through their trauma and getting past all these blocks, even once they've plotted everything out and the plot is there, the map is done. So how do you help your clients navigate when they don't want to write and
Mhm.
they've lost touch, or there's trauma, they just don't want to work through that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I've worked with those writers before, and I can see in the writing that they present, it becomes very vague, it becomes very minimal. I can tell that they're avoiding going into that space, that it was traumatic for them to have been there, and they fear re-traumatizing themselves by revisiting it. So I remind them that they need to revisit why they're writing this book. And the why they're writing these kinds of books is to help other people who have been through the same trauma to come out through the other side, to show them that there is hope, because the writer themselves did do this. And when they get back in touch with their why, with their wanting to help people, with their wanting to have a bigger impact on the world, that's what is inspiring them to write in the first place. And so it reignites their inspiration, and it helps them fortify themselves to go into that place and to be courageous and to share everything they need to share.
Yeah, it already takes courage to just write, and it already puts you in a vulnerable spot, but to write about the things that traumatized you to help other people takes ultimate courage, and to do it justice, to do our trauma justice without re-traumatizing ourselves is tricky. But I think yeah, I think it does help to have a coach in that process. And I am biased because I was writing for years and years. And it wasn't until I had my own coach that I finally finished the manuscript. So I do think that anyone out there who's listening, who has been working on their ideas for years and years, and you cannot get past that, which is the hardest part. Most of us, I think 98% of manuscripts don't get published. That might just be hearsay, but I've seen this stat around the internet, and I think,
wow, that's such a discouraging figure. Jeez.
I think it's hard to keep it up, especially if you have no support, and just having that guidance is really helpful. And I remember my coach for a long time just saying, I don't know what you're trying to say. And there's so much going on. And I felt so proud the day that I could tell I had impressed him. I scrapped my manuscript. I started over.
Oh,
And there's a
wow.
scene, yeah, totally different. It was YA, and then I went into women's satire. And there was a bit coming up where I was going to kill the dog. I was going to kill the family dog. And he's like, no, you got to kill the mom. You have to
Whoa.
you have to level it up. And I didn't want to kill the mom. And I thought about it. And my mom happened to be away that week at a writing retreat. And I was crying because I was imagining her dead.
Oh,
And then
no.
I realized, you know what? This is a better story. It's sad. It's making me cry, but that's a good thing. And I would not have done that without the coach guiding me through and just being there and realizing that the pain could make good art without being all on my own with it. So I loved having a coach, and I see the benefit in it, absolutely. But even if you are not looking for a coach, I highly recommend if anyone's interested in getting to know Erin a little better, joining her group, write a book and change the world. It's an intimate Facebook group. Erin is super active and engaged with the members. And Erin, do you want to talk a little bit about this group? What's the purpose of this group?
I put together this group for heart-centered coaches and consultants to be able to offer guidance and support to help them confidently write books so they can grow their impact and help more people and change the world with their transformative messages. And I love working one-on-one with writers, but also just being able to offer that to anyone who's considering doing this kind of work, is unsure how to begin, wonders what it looks like, is curious about what a book coach does and what a book coach can offer. And also the group provides peer support. You get to join a space with other world-changing writers and work through different aspects of your writing that you're wondering about how to perfect, how to create the kind of book that you want your readers to be engaged. So
Yeah,
I love being able to offer that to anyone who wants to do that.
and there's so many Facebook groups in the world. But this is one that if you are a heart-centered coach or consultant, join this group. I'm in it, and I love checking in. I know we all get hundreds of notifications
I know,
when we're on
right?
Facebook, but I check in with yours because you ask such thought-provoking questions, and it's just a nice group group of people. Yeah. Erin, thank you so much for the second interview. And it's always so nice to see you.
Likewise, Jess. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it so much.
So any last words before we go?
If you are the kind of writer that I'm talking to, then I would love to hear from you and find out how you want to change the world. And if you're looking for some tips on how to write your best book for that, I encourage you to reach out to me. I'm online at www.sunshineeditorialservices.com, and there is a form there. You can reach me, you can talk to me, you can ask me your questions. And if you'd like to set up a one-on-one quick session together, I can then offer you an Ignite Your Inspiration to Write 15-minute session over Calendly.
Awesome. Thanks, Erin.